What's going on, everybody? I'm just gonna jump right into this. There's no need for pleasantries. You know who you're listening to. Well, I guess I'll say all of this at the beginning, okay? You guys are listening to Mills Speaks, the Mills Speaks podcast. This is Mills of Virgo. I just gave you guys an episode yesterday. I wanted to do a solid and watch Stranger Things in its entirety before I did this recording. You guys know why you're here. You see the name of the episode. This is the Stranger Things recap. I am recapping not just Stranger Things Season 3, which has been fucking fantastic. I am going to go all the way back, and I'm going to, those of you who don't know much about Stranger Things, which is some of you guys, I'll give you an overview of what this show was about, what's happening, all of that. And I mean all of it. It's a fantastic show. It just reminds me of when I was against Netflix in the first place. And then once I did get Netflix, I was against Stranger Things, right? And I was like, what? And Orange is the New Black and every other show that was, you know, big on Netflix, because I'm just one of those people, you know? Anything that's popular with a lot of people, I just don't want to know about it. Okay, let me find out on my own time. I don't want to follow y'all, right? I don't know why I'm like this. I just am, okay? But I'm late to the party. I was late to the party, but now Season 3 is upon us. I was looking forward to this ever since January when they announced the date of the release of Season 3. After Season 2, I was very upset to hear that it was going to be 2019 when the show came back. Because I feel like it was 17. When I watched Stranger Things. So we pulled the track down a bit. I won't talk too much about the track. The track is dope. I love it, and it went perfect with this entire Stranger Things vibe. Everything about Stranger Things is fucking weird. It doesn't even matter what you're into. This show's a dope show. I love little nerds. I myself was a nerd when I was a little one. I kind of guess I still am a nerd. I'm not real sure. I don't make the rules. Okay? All I have to say, I'm going to start a little with Season 3 only because I purposefully put the show on in the background so that I could look over and reference anything that I didn't write down. And the first thing I'd love to bring up about Season 3 would be Billy. Okay, Billy. Listen, before Billy wasn't Billy anymore, okay? And we'll get to that. But before Billy wasn't Billy anymore, okay? He's a brash, annoying, probably psychotic, somewhat charming. He is cute. If you see his little tight ass and his little body, oh my god. And they make sure to keep him nice and oiled up. Oh shit. He got the earrings, the long hair, okay? He got the deep eyes, bruh. Listen, I like Billy. And I knew Billy was sexy in the season finale of Stranger Things because Billy had to go and look for the little sister. And he came up to Mike's house, which is, you know, one of the fellas. And he went ringing the doorbell, and the wife was in the tub taking a bath. The husband's asleep on the lazy boy here, right here in the living room. She's literally got to come out of the tub and answer the door. So when she comes down, she's already a little agitated, right? But when she opened that door and Billy was sitting there with no shirt, with that shirt open, actually he had a shirt on, but it was open, you know, back in the 80s, you know, you wore your shirt open, had your chest all out, and if you had chest hair, you had your chest hairs all out, you know, but he had the shirt all open and shit, he had his little denim jacket, little sexy little ass out, like, the mama was like, what's up, who this? You here to see my daughter? Okay? And he was like, oh no, she ain't my type. I didn't know she had a sister. I said, look at motherfucking Billy. But anyway, Billy is not the main focus here. We will talk about Billy later though, because he kind of is the star of Season 3 in my book, next to Erica Sinclair. We will get to Miss Erica Sinclair, and I will pull her name to get her a real name so that I can address her as such, okay? Because she's fantastic. Alright, So the first thing that I wrote down about Stranger Things. Well, let's do this. I'm not going to do Stranger Things 3. I want to do a quick recap, and then we'll merge into Stranger Things 3. Okay? So Stranger Things is a show about 4 kids. They're best friends. There's Lucas. Okay? I'm going to help you guys, because some of you might know, some of you might not know. Lucas, the little black kid. Alright? There's Dustin, the kid with no teeth, in the hat. He's a little chubby fella. He's the best. There's Will, the one who gets taken. Okay? And then there's Mike, the asshole. Alright? Now look, I love Mike, but Mike's a jerk, and that's just that on that. Okay? But, you know, so the show comes on, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons in the basement, which really is an 80s thing, I feel like, because I feel like a lot of people don't have basements like that anymore, and then the people that do have basements, like, that's probably not the kid hangout. They probably wouldn't trust their kids downstairs in the basement like back in the day. Like, that was, I'm gonna be honest with you, Stranger Things kind of makes me wish that I grew up in the 80s. Like, I grew up in the 80s, I was born in the 80s, but I didn't have this experience. By the time I was their age, I was in the 90s, and shit was just, you know, on a different level, okay? On a different level. But it was the same premise. I mean, we didn't have cell phones, so we had to account for where everybody was based on where the bikes was parked, you know, all that kind of stuff. The one thing that I couldn't have been friends with these people, because I wasn't sneaking out of my mom and dad's house in the middle of the night, and there's definitely a rule in the black community that you're to be home by the time the street lights come on. So, and in my neighborhood, that was about 7 p.m. during daylight savings time or whatever. And then when it was, when we were out of daylight savings time, then that was most likely 9 or something like that, right? So, it's just an amazing show, and it throws you back to those 80s, that time. So anybody that is like a true 80s baby, born in the 80s, 81, 2, 3, like myself, and you grew up in the 80s and you have all these memories. So all the toys, all the pop culture references, it's amazing. So anyway, so the show starts off with them playing Dungeons and Dragons in the basement, and everything's cool. They're having a great time, and then they disperse for the evening, and they ride their bikes home, because that's what you did. You rode your bikes home, even though it was super dark. And the other 2 kids made it home, but Will did not. He was attacked by something in the woods, and then they could not find him the next day. Okay? So that's the way the show starts, before the Stranger Things like the little you know, before it comes on, before the credits run and it tells you what show you're watching and all that, before it even comes on, this is what has happened, okay? So, obviously, I'm going to try to bunch this up a bit and keep this Season 1 and Season 2 kind of short, because I want to get into Season 3. So, Season 1, that happens. They spend the majority of the season trying to figure out, is Will dead? Is he missing? Has he been taken? What's going on? The only person that believes that Will is still alive is Will's mother. His friends don't think he's dead per se, but they don't know anything. They only know what the grown-ups are telling them. So, at the same time that this happened, there was a little girl who escaped this lab, okay, in the same town, and she came to the house, to Mike's house. They found her. Actually, they found her when they went looking for Will, when they realized that Will did not come home. This was the next day, so they did find her the next day. They took her to Mike's house, you know, fed her, all that stuff. She's a lab child, so she doesn't know anything about regular life. She knows what they did in the lab, the experiments they were doing, you know, the powers that she has. So it comes to light that the young lady has superpowers. You know, she's able to make things levitate. She's able to basically that's what it is. She's able to control things with her mind. Okay, what is that? I'm not trying to join into these words. You guys know what I mean. Okay, so she, you know, she starts learning regular ways and such, and they learn from her, and they just kind of start to really like her. Mike takes a liking to her. The other kids don't really know what to think of her. Mike's got a feeling for her, though, so now they think that he's kind of compromised. His decision making is compromised and all this, that, and the other. But that's just the groundwork for like the next seasons and the relationships that develop and such. I want to say around maybe episode 3 or 4, maybe even 5, that's when the Stranger Things really turns up. With exception of season 3, because season 3, it happened early. It happened early. I don't want to say episode 3 or 4. Like, they really did hit the road running with this one. They didn't really bullshit around with getting to the crux of everything. And I think that's mainly because they only give us 8 damn episodes. Part of the game is this. But whatever. So like I said, the remainder of the season is basically trying to determine where is Will living, this, that, and the other. They come, they play Dungeons and Dragons, so a lot of this is based on Dungeons and Dragons stuff, so obviously not real, but somehow, some way, they've managed to jump into a dimension where this stuff is real. So in the show, in Hawkins, Indiana, there is this lab that's doing all of these experiments, and they, the young lady, Elle, her name is 11, but they call her Elle. Elle basically escaped from there, but in her departure, she opened a gate to another dimension. So, because she did this, there's like an animal. It's not even an animal. I don't know what this thing is. They call it a demigorgon. So, watch the show so you can see the images. But a demigorgon, let's just roll with it being a dog with no face. Right? The face opens up in 4 pieces and then it eats, right? So no eyes, no face. They hear and all that stuff. They're quite scary. Not gonna lie to you. So we do get a glimpse of the monster when Will is taken, or when he has his interaction in the woods, okay, with him. So like I said, they're looking for it, they talk to Elle, Elle's telling them, okay, this is where I was and all this stuff, but it's slow going because she doesn't know how to truly communicate with them like that, She starts to learn things, when they have to go to school and she's there by herself. So yeah, it's pretty dope from that aspect. They eventually all get on the same page. And that's my favorite part of the seasons, all 3 of them, when everybody gets on the same page. Because Stranger Things does this thing where they will break this group of, say, 12 individuals up into about 3 to 4 groups, and then they're all doing different shit, okay? It all kind of goes together, but they're all doing different stuff. I'm like, what are y'all doing out here? But it's interesting, and I'll be the first one to say that I know we're not at season 2 yet, but season 2, the last 2 episodes, is probably the best TV I've ever watched in my life, because they keep you so interested. Like, I was like, when I was watching it for the first time, when I didn't know what was coming, like, I was really stressed. I was like, oh my fucking god, like, what in the fuck are they going to fucking do? Like, I'm just like really stressed, and I was like, what is this life? And then, but I'm not going to get into that, but those 2 episodes set up season 3 perfectly, and then they kind of capped off season 1 and 2 for me perfectly as well, obviously, but, man, so we'll get there. So in season 1, there was, of course, the disappearance of Will, right? The kids trying to figure out if they could find him. They don't believe he's dead, but that's just kind of what the grown-ups are saying. The sheriff in the town, his name is Hopper. Hopper, he knows the Will's mother, Joyce, okay? He knows Joyce. They went to high school together. They grew up there, It's kind of like a small town. Everybody grows up together, stays there, has a family, raises their family together, stays there. They have a family, you know what I mean? So it's like you got generations in this one town, right? That kind of thing. So Hopper doesn't believe that he's gone, there's any wrongdoing. Hopper just thinks he's either missing or he was taken or something, but he's treating Joyce like she's a maniac. Okay, and then she is acting quite maniacal, I'm not gonna lie. But, I mean, her son is missing. Okay, her son is missing, and she has no idea what to do with the situation. Hopper does go to investigate the lab because there was, that's kind of where they found his stuff. His stuff was close to the area of the lab, you know? So, his bike and such. So Will is missing still. Okay, that's fine. Let's put that over to the side. Alright, now you've got, so the mom's tripping out. He has an older brother, Jonathan. Okay, Jonathan's trying to keep it together because mom is tripping, brother's missing, and I don't know what's going on. He's trying to keep it together. He's a photographer. He's a weirdo, so he doesn't have many friends. And he takes a liking to Will's sister. What is her name? Hold on. What is her dumb name? Because that girl gets on my nerves. Okay? Dang, she gets on my nerves. Oh my gosh. Nancy. That's her name, Nancy. Okay, so he takes a liking to Nancy, but obviously Nancy has a boyfriend, and his name is Steve, okay? And Steve is awesome. Steve is Steve Harrington, and he's like a cool, rich jock guy who he's pretty dumb actually, but you know, he doesn't appear dumb initially. But in season 2, you really see how dumb he is. And, Steve's dope. Steve's the kid that has the cool hair, you know, always has the girls and all that stuff. Well, they managed to link up. They're together in a relationship. He seems to really care for her, but he's stupid. He's still one of those dudes that's still affected by what other people say and will go with the flow of, you know, when his dumb friends are being ignorant, he'll do the same thing, you know, as opposed to being his own man, you know? So they're all at some house one night. It's one night. She told her parents she was going to study. Her and Barb, her best friend, are going to study, and it didn't happen. So she goes in there and she's having sex with her boyfriend. Barb is sitting outside, bored as hell at the pool because the other two are having sex too, and she is just there by herself, a fifth thumb, right? Fifth wheel. And so Barbara, I can't remember what she does to bring blood up. I don't know if she cuts her hand on the can. I don't remember what she does, but the monster, the Demogorgon, okay, is drawn to blood. Now Will was not bleeding at the time, so I don't know why he was, you see what I'm saying? But we're not going to get into that. So he's drawn to blood, so basically he came up out of the woods and took Barb, okay? Took her. And, you know, when they're done having sex and all this stuff, you know, they come down, they try to see where Barb is, they don't see Barb. Okay, cool. She goes back to work. She goes back to school the next day. Barb's not there, but she goes back to where they parked. The car is still there. So now she's like, wait a minute, where's Barb? So now we've got 2 people missing. Okay, same monster, 2 different people, right? So eventually, because the lab is trying to cover up what they're doing, they've now put together a dead body and thrown it in the quarry. Okay, they're trying to make it like it's Will. All right. Detective Hopper, or the sheriff, starts to determine that these people are lying and they're not quite what they say they are because of 2 different things. So the first thing was he went there to question them. He wanted to see security footage, all that stuff. They showed security footage of that night allegedly, but that night it was pouring down raining and there was no rain on the footage. So he was like, oh, they lying. Somebody lying, right? And then the second reason why he started believing that there was some foul play here was because he went and checked out the body. He went and checked the body out that they said that they found. And it was a dummy. It was a dummy. He cut the body open and it was stuffed. It was a dummy. So once he realized, okay, they lying about everything now. Let me see what the hell's going on. Okay? So that's when Hopper starts getting on the same page with, you know, Joyce saying, hey, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And In the meantime, Joyce has been visited by Will's spirit and this monster at the house a couple of different times. And the main way that the monster or the force itself lets you know that it's close is because the lights start flickering crazy. So the first time that this occurred, she saw the lights. She talked to Will. She screamed out to him and was like, okay, if you're still alive, make the lights, whatever. And so that happened. So she knew Will was still alive. She just didn't know where he was at. So at school, let's go with the next day or the next few days after this ordeal at the pool with Barb and Nancy, okay? While Barb was sitting there being attacked or taken by this Demogorgon, Jonathan was in the woods. He was just doing photography, I guess. I don't know what the deal is. But he was doing photography. He was taking pictures of all of them in the pool and stuff. Weird stuff. Weird stuff, okay? Stuff that you'd be like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But, it's harmless. He's not trying to kill y'all or nothing. I mean, shoot. But anyway, one of the girls in his dark room or in his photography class who was in the dark room with him saw the pictures and told them. So then they broke his camera, beat him up, all that stuff. But Nancy came and wanted to talk to him because obviously Nancy knows that Barb is missing and has a really bad feeling about the situation. So that's when her and Jonathan link up and are like, yeah, I saw something. I have a picture of it, blah, blah, blah. And then they go from there. So now they're working together and they're on the same page. But still, Steve doesn't like this because obviously there's some weirdo hanging out with his girlfriend. He's got a problem and he's got a short temper and he's an idiot, right? So we'll get to that later. So, once we finally get to a space where everybody can be on the same page, then it's explained, okay, Will is in the upside down, okay? The upside down is a dimension just like this dimension, except it is literally underneath us. So think Us, the movie Us, but not. Okay? But the dimension is still the same. Like, the whole situation is still the same. There's a clear, level. There's a group up, and then there's a group down, or a life down and a life up. Let's go with that. And that's where Will is. That's where Barb is. That's where a lot of people end up going. Okay? Nancy's one of them. Nancy went out in the woods with Jonathan. They went looking for stuff. And Nancy's ass got caught up and drug into a tree, which then took her into the underground. Which was, when I first saw that episode and we really saw the underground and we really saw what was going on, I was just like, oh my god, this is so fucked. This is so fucked. And so that was dope. And so once that happens, now they are 100% on the same page that something bad is going down. This is what's going on. This is probably where Will is. This is probably where Barbara is. All of the stuff. So then she recruits the kids. They eventually go to Hopper and the mom, and it's a big thing. And it just goes from there. So basically, what ends up happening is they try to take 11 to the school so that they can do put her in a pool of water, and then so she can do her psychic ability crap, okay? Because she has these abilities where she can cover her eyes, put the channel on the radio onto a blank frequency, and then she can kind of find people. She can find them. She can see where they've been, all that kind of stuff. So she was trying to do that, and that worked. And then they eventually went to do what they had to do, but they left the kids at the school. And when they left the kids at the school, that's where the monster came to get them. And this was the last episode, and Elle basically killed the monster, sending it back into the underground. But then she was sucked into the underground too, and that's the way it went off, right? The season 1. So season 2 comes on. They think Elle's dead, all of these things, but she's not dead. She's not dead at all. Hopper is taking care of her in his cabin. He finds out at some point that she's out there and alive, and then he had basically started giving her food, and then he ran into her and then took her to the cabin so that she could have a regular life, a bed, a roof, all of these things, so she's not out here just, out here, right? So, season 2 starts. I'm trying to think how this starts. Oh, Mad Max, that's the first episode, Mad Max. So we've now introduced a new young lady into the crew. She's a little redhead girl. She's got a big brother named Billy. They're stepbrothers and sisters. They're not blood. He makes no bones about that. He does not like her. He does not care for her at all. He talks rough to her. He talks rough and abusive to everybody because he himself is abused, and we get more into that in season 3, right? But this is what we've got. And so Mad Max is a big deal because they went to the arcade. The arcade opened in season 2, which was another 80s throwback awesome shit. So they're all like finding money, trying to go to the arcade, and they get there to play these games and this, that, and the other. And then bam, everybody's high score is out of here, okay? Everybody's high score is out of here because Mad Max is number 1 on every fucking machine. And I'm like, what? So basically, they're trying to figure out who this Mad Max dude is. They don't know it's a girl until school. So at the end of the first episode of season 2, if I'm not mistaken, that's when we find out that there's more monsters. And the reason there's more monsters is because the gate is not closed. The gate that was opened when 11 came out of the lab, the gate has not been closed, and so the monster world still exists, big time. And on top of that, Will, who was captured. Okay, so they found him in the underground. They got him up. They got him right, and he's healthy. And they brought him home. So episode 1 and season 2, he went to go to the bathroom. He had something in his throat. He coughed up a worm. Okay, Jesus. It was almost like a tadpole. It was almost like a little tadpole. And then this bad boy grew significantly, but not with Will. This is what was found in Dustin's trash at the end of episode 1. So he took it. And he's like, what is this? I'm about to discover a whole new species. This, that, and the other. Yada, 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 right? So he takes it to school, of course. He's going to show his friends. And then he wanted to show a teacher. But then Mike stopped that for some reason. And I think it had something to do with, obviously, the bigger picture, the 11, all of that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, that's the beginning of the episode, or the season. So now you've got the monster. Okay, we know the gate's not closed. 11's not dead, right? And now we've got to figure out this life. So obviously Mike is like in love with 11. He does not like this new chick. He feels like the other guys are trying to forget about Elle and then add her into the party, and he's just like, I'm not gonna have it. Okay, he's not even trying to have it. Like, don't you guys remember 11, because she's my girl and I love her, right? That's basically what this is all about. And so he is really rude and nasty to her throughout literally the entire season until the end. A lot of things happen in season 2. I'm not going to go through all that at all. But season 2 was a lot of self-discovery for 11. She found her biological mother. She was able to find her sister who was in the lab with her. So number 8 and 11, right? I would love if season 4, Stranger Things, explored more of these kids, because I mean, obviously, where's 1 through 7, and then where's 9, 10, and where's 9 and 10, right? Because we got 8 and 11, so what's the deal? So but no, it's fantastic, it really is. And that's the way they open up season 2. So all of that happens, and then eventually what happens while we're not looking at 11, because 11 is stuck in this cabin, and the rules are she can't leave, she can't pull the drapes up, she can't communicate with anyone, she can't talk, she can't let anyone know that she still exists. And so it's very trying for her. And Hopper is no good parental unit. He's just not, he's not good. He's not good at it. He had a kid, his daughter died, you know, his marriage fell apart, he turned to drugs and alcohol, and he drank and took pills on the job, you know what I mean? Like, so he's a mess. He's one of these guys who gets up in the morning, doesn't brush his teeth, takes his beer and takes his pills together, and then, you know, smokes a cigarette, and then he's out the door. Like, bruh, this is not the move. This is not the way. Okay? So he, as kids, as we're told kids do, you know, he learned way more from her than she could learn from him. So they were good together. She eventually gets really ticked off because they have a huge fight and stuff, and she's just tired of, you know, rules. She's trying to follow rules that don't benefit her in any type of way. She, you know, she's a kid, and kids remember stuff like when you say maybe, and you said maybe 3 times before, and you say maybe again, then the only, you know, logical explanation is if the last time you said maybe and nothing happened, this time you say maybe and nothing's gonna happen, right? That's like logic. So yeah. So that was it was like a growing pains thing, and, you know, it had been a while since he left, and then she left. And then it was a while before he came back, because he was just too busy trying to fight these, he'd been too busy trying to fight these monsters, okay, and this disease that's going through the city, or the town. So he came to realize that the experimentation and all the stuff, the Upside Down, was still there, because he got calls from just about every farmer around blaming each other for somebody poisoning their crops. And then he went and dug and dug and dug and dug, and then he found another entryway into the underground, or the Upside Down. So we're back to this, you know. Will is normal, but not. This is a term that is coined in season 3, but Will is flayed. And what that means is the mind flayer, or the monster, what he does is he can infiltrate you, right? So think in Avengers, think Loki with the scepter turning, you know, the SHIELD agents into his little minions, you know? Think body snatchers, things like that, right? So you're you, but you're only you until he wants you to be him, you know, until he activates, right? So Will is slowly but surely becoming more and more infected by the Dark Force, the Mind Flayer, okay? The Mind Flayer takes total control over the Demigorgon, the Demi-Dogs, all of the stuff. He's completely in charge of all of that stuff. They're all an extension of him, right? So this is inside of Will, okay? So it's crazy. It's really crazy. So Will is able to find Hopper, because Hopper goes down into the Upside Down, but then he gets all jacked up, and the vines, the vines in there attack him, and then he's like gonna die, and they have to find him, and it's just so much. Okay, it's just so much. And so they do finally get him out of there. They get him out of there. They get him to the lab, get some, you know, medical attention, and then he's shown the gate. He's shown the gate, and he's like, this is what's going on. The gate is much bigger. We're trying to contain it, but it is growing exponentially. And so that's the issue, okay? So while 11 is out living her life with her family, okay, trying to find herself, they're back here trying to figure out what are we going to do about this little thing that keeps growing, the thing that Dustin kept that came out of Will. It keeps growing. It even grew legs while he was showing it to the friends. So it grows so fast. So within 2 or 3 days, it had been developed from a little itty bitty slug thing all the way to like a whole full demi-dog, okay? A dog with no face, okay? So earlier I mentioned to you about the last 2 episodes of season 2 So season 2, episode 7 and 8, which is called episode 7 is called The Mind Flayer, which is where they explain what the Mind Flayer is. They explain what the deal is. They make it really clear. I didn't do Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, so I had no idea what they're talking about. But I mean, it's easy to follow. Okay, it's easy to follow. It's a monster, and he doesn't like the heat. So that's what they decide to do. So what they try to do is they try to combat this in 3 different ways. So episode 7, they've taken Will to the hospital or to the lab because he passed out. He passed out because the soldiers burned up some of the vines that's underneath, the ground, so the upside down. When you do that, the entire monster feels that. So Will almost went into it was almost like a seizure attack type deal because of the pain, because it was so, crazy. So they have him there. They're trying to explain to him, or he's trying to explain to them what's going on. The monster inside of him knows now that it can use Will, and people still believe Will to be Will. Right? So he basically said he sent them into a space, into the upside down, and it was basically an ambush. He sent them to die. Once he sent them there, with the Will guy came out of his body, and he was just like, I'm sorry, but he didn't like when you guys burned him up, and that made him really mad. And then the guys died. It was a trap, basically. So then they decide, okay, Will's a spy. He's a spy, and he can't be trusted. So we need to make him sleep, take him someplace where he doesn't know, and then wake him up and try to talk to him. So that's what they end up doing in this episode. They take him home, and nobody knows that they're there at that time. They wake him up, put him in the little shed back there, so he doesn't know exactly where he is. They put him in the shed, and then they start asking him questions, trying to get him to come through the monster, right? But he's not able to, so he's been doing Morse code through his fingers, so they're able to get the message while they keep talking to him. The message is just close the gate, which, obviously, that's really clear. It's kind of obvious, and I was kind of disappointed when they finished up the Morse code scenario montage, and it was closed gate. I was like, what? But anyway, but yeah, so they all know they have to close the gate, so they're there. They've got it together. The phone rings, and when the phone rings, the monster knows, because the monster goes through the lines, the power lines, the phone lines, all these things. So he knows how to identify where people are. So that's what he did. And so then they made Will sleep again before he could find out, before he could find out exactly where he was. I just hit my hand so hard just now. It's ridiculous. You didn't even hear me react. Fantastic. But no, he basically went and they put him to sleep. They put him in his room, and then they heard the demi-dogs coming to get them. Okay? Coming to get them, so they're all like, and this is like the height of the tension. This is the height of the stress right here. It's like, okay, the music's going, some kind of crazy 80s, heavy synth music, boom, 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 right? And then it's like, okay, and then the camera's going around bad boy style in a circle, showing everybody, okay, we're getting ready. Lucas goes out here and he pulls out this slingshot, and I'm like, what is he gonna do with the slingshot? Anyway, and so it was good. It was really cool. It was a really cool section of the movie, or of the show. And then, so they're getting ready. They hear them coming. They're getting ready. They're watching the doors and the windows. They're trying to focus, all of these things. And then they hear a commotion outside. Some of the things are dead. One gets thrown into the house through the window. And at that very moment, I was like, it's 11. That fucking 11. And no lie, that moment when Elle steps into the house, okay, with her chucks, her high top chucks and her new style, okay, and she came through there and her nose is bleeding, obviously, because she was using her powers. it's probably the most epic moment ever when they did that and they showed the shoe and they panned up. I was like, 11! You know, I was like, whoa. And so, so that's how that episode ends. And then the finale of season 2 actually starts with 11 being there, embracing the friends, talking to them, all of that stuff. Nice little interaction. She's got a nasty little interaction with Mad Max because she does not like Mad Max like that, because she feels like, who is this bitch over here with my dudes? Okay, and then she asked to go see Will. Okay, and then this is how the craziness starts. Okay, the craziness starts just like this. All right, they start to split up. They tell, all right, so they're gonna take 11 and Hopper are gonna go back to the lab. They're gonna try to sneak in there and close the gate. That's the first game plan. Okay, but they can't do that until Nancy, Joyce, Will, and Jonathan go up to the cabin where he was keeping an 11. So you can go up to the cabin because nobody knows about that, and then you gotta take him up there while he's asleep, of course, because he's still a spy. Take him up there, let him go ahead and wake him up. And they said the whole point of taking him there was to basically sweat out this monster, because the monster likes it cold. He wants the window open, all this stuff. They were like, why are we giving it what it wants? Let's just go ahead and let's just go ahead and put the heaters on. So they basically made that cabin the hottest they could make it. They had all the portable heaters. They had the fire place going. They had everything turned up to 11. Okay. To get this out. And then, of course, once it started getting real hot in there, that's when he woke up, and that's when the monster was like, yo, you got to go, right? So they fought this for some time. They fought it for some time, and then it did come out of Will, okay? Came out of Will, and that was cool. But while that was happening, the other crew, okay, which consists of Mad Max, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin, and Steve Harrington, okay? They're at the house. They're at the house trying to hold down the fort. Mad Max's brother, Billy, our man, Billy, shows up because he's looking for her. Because the parents have come home, she's not home. He's about to go on a date. The dad is extremely abusive and disrespectful to him. And he's like, you gotta go find your sister. Now go. You know. So he does that. He tracks her all the way down, like I told you. So we're back to the beginning of how I started. He went over to Mike's house. The mom came out of the tub, okay? Mom comes out of the tub, baby, and sees his little sexy self. And then she gives him the address over to Will's house, and he comes there. And he's been itching to fight Steve all year, because that's what you do when you come to a new school and there's like a big dog. If you're one of those assholes who you don't care about being the big dog, but at the same time you don't like the big dog, so that's kind of how this went. So he's been dying to fight Steve, and he beat Steve's ass. Okay, he beat her down, or excuse me, he beat him down, and it was like, man, Steve, I was disappointed in Steve. Okay, I was disappointed in Steve because in season 1 he got his ass beat. In season 2, he got his ass beat. And you guessed it, season 3, he gets his ass beat. Okay? So, I mean, I was like, man, Steve can't fight for shit. But anyway, so, they managed to take him down, the children. The children managed to take him down. They tranked him with one of the needles that they were, sticking Will with. They tranked him, and then Max almost hit his junk with a bat that had nails out of it. And so, then he knocked out. They took his car. They went to the pumpkin patches, okay? So they could go into the underground, because the goal was to set off a bomb in the heart of the underground, the tunnels. So if they could do that, and if they could get the thing out of Will, then Elle and Hopper can make it to the actual, then they can make it to the actual lab and close the gate. You see? So that's kind of how they ended season 2. They got in there, all of it happened, and then Elle goes in there and closes the gate. And then that was done. Everybody leaves the town. Everything's cool. Season 3 here in motherfucking now. So, Season 3 starts like this. June 28th, 1984. Okay? In Russia. Mother Russia. Okay? They were doing some sort of experiment trying to open a gate. Okay? The same gate that Elle closed now. They're trying to open a gate. Now, they were unsuccessful for many reasons, mainly because of the location and then, of course, the power. So then they relocated to the United States of America, to Hawkins, Indiana. Okay? And what they did was they started buying up property. They started, they bought up a huge plot of land and built a mall. And the gate is under the mall. So yeah, the gate's under the mall. And the different houses that they bought, the different homes they purchased were just so they could build out their like laboratory throughout the entire city, which is very smart. I mean, it's extremely smart. But you know, what are you gonna do? So that's what the deal is there. Another thing that's really 80s, and it was brought forth in season 3, was Russians. And I didn't realize, because they actually mentioned Russians a couple of times in season 1, because I did go back to rewatch that for a little bit. But yeah, I guess this was a real fear in the 80s, Russians and communism and all that kind of stuff, you know, whatevs. So the Russians, like I said, they started this in Russia, they came over here, and then, you know, the main place that they're at is the mall, okay? It makes, again, perfect sense. There's tons of people at the mall, so if you're there every day, nobody's ever going to pay attention to that. I mean, it was a very smart situation. On top of that, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, let's go with episode 1. Episode 1 comes in. Dustin's been gone. So I went ahead and wrote down some stuff about people. Alright. So let's just get to that. Okay. Dustin has been gone for about a month. He went to some kind of science camp. Cool, right? He met a girlfriend there, apparently. And when he got back, he brought back this equipment to make like a really huge antenna so that he could talk to his girlfriend all the way in Utah, and he lives in Hawkins, Indiana. And it worked. So they used this throughout the entire season because it's necessary. Okay, it's needed. Okay, again, they did not have cell phones, guys. So everybody kind of ditches Dustin after he can't reach his girlfriend, and you know, let's say they went up there at like sunset or something. It's full on nighttime, and they still haven't reached the girlfriend. So at this point, everybody, including myself, is like, is this girlfriend even exist? Like, is this a real thing? You know? So they ditch him, and just as he's about to pack his shit up and go, he starts hearing this Russian, message. So he's spazzing out about it. He records it, and then he takes it over to Steve, apparently, because apparently Steve can translate Russian. I didn't think that he could, and I'm gonna be honest, he didn't do a good job at this, but, you know, whatever. What are you gonna do, you know? So yeah, he takes it over there. Steve's working at the ice cream shop this summer, trying to figure out what he's gonna do with his life. And so they go here, and he's talking to him and all that stuff. The girl that's working with Steve, she's a bit of a ridiculous person, but at the same time, she's super dope. But the young lady is fluent in lots of different languages and is able to assist. So now we have this cluster of people: Dustin, Steve, and Sarah, I think is her name. And And then, of course, Erica. But Erica has not been introduced just yet. The only way we know Erica is in the first episode. Her and Lucas had a very ridiculous interaction while they were in the mall. And she comes to the ice cream shop every single day to get samples. Which I think is hilarious because that's what kids would do. Like, yeah, can I get a sample of that? You know, literally eating ice cream all day. So, you know, that's a crew right there. Erica, Dustin, new girl, Sarah, and then Steve Harrington. That's one crew, okay? They're the ones that know about the Russians. They're the ones that know about this plan to do whatever, okay? They're the ones that figure out, oh, the Russians are doing this every single night, and how these, you know, deliveries and this and the other, they go staking out in the rain and all kind of shit, okay? So this is one side, right? So then you've got Mike and Eleven, who basically have this summer loving thing going on. They are acting like they're the only people in the world, which is how you act when you're in love and you're 14. And, you know, they just, or a teenager, I don't know exactly how old they are, but they are monopolizing each other's time so much so that the boys are mad about it. They don't like it. That's all they ever want to do and talk about is the girls and, you know, all of this stuff. So there's a bit of an interesting dynamic going on within the friendship, okay? Dustin has this long-distance girlfriend that's in Utah, apparently. Max and Lucas are dating, okay? 11 and Mike are dating and in a relationship. But Will is still single. Will was actually outed in one of these episodes. I don't know which one, but he was outed in one of the episodes where he basically was saying that they never want to play Dungeons and Dragons anymore. Y'all don't ever want to do anything anymore if it's not about the stupid girls and da 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 da. And Mike goes, well, it's not my fault you don't like girls, right? And I was like, oh wow, there's the coming out that I wasn't expecting. But I said, okay, cool, you know, what else? The young lady Sarah also comes out. She's the girl who's over here with Steve Harrington and Dustin at the ice cream shop. She comes out because Steve thinks this whole time that she had a crush on him. They were in a class together, and she was like, you didn't even know me. You didn't even see me in that class. And we had class for an entire year or something like that. And he thought that the girl would be interested in him. Of course, they always think that. But she was really interested in another girl who was interested in Steve. So that is two outings that I did not expect to see, but was not 100% mad at, because at the end of the day, I don't care what time frame you want to put a show or a TV show or a movie, you know, there's always going to be gay people around, so I was okay with that, and it was all good. Let's see. My major takeaways from Stranger Things. Let's give you the gist of the season. The season, like I said, starts because the Russians are trying to open the gate. The Russians have successfully opened the gate. The gate is opening. Will, because he had part of this thing inside of him, anytime it's around, he feels something. It's kind of like he feels it in his back of his neck. He's like, oh god, something's wrong, you know? And in the first episode, there was a massive power outage. They were at the movies at the mall. Everything went completely black. Everything was done. And Will felt that on the back of his neck at that time. Lights came back on. Everything was cool. And that was really just because they were trying to open the gate at that point. And all the power, you know, everything kind of surged. Everything surged, even the magnetic fields, because the magnets fell off of Joyce's refrigerator at her house and job. So they were trying to figure out why the hell that's happening. And they rolled into a whole bunch more information. So I told you guys about the one crew over here. So Hopper and Joyce, so that's the sheriff and then Will's mom, they are now kind of linked together. And first, Hopper asks her out on a date. She doesn't show. He gets upset. He starts acting like a little bitch. Little stuff like that. Like, she went someplace else and he's like, oh, is that your boyfriend now? You know, that kind of stuff. Like, really, Hop? Come on, sir. So Hopper Hopper and Joyce basically are trying to figure out what's going on. They go and break into the lab because they think that it has something to do with the lab, and everything's gone. But they do run into a very big Russian who beats the shit out of Hopper. I said, damn, you'd have thought he was Steve the way he got his ass beat. But Hopper got his ass beat, and then they got back home, and then that's when, you know, he goes and he meets with Men in Tights. Our dude Carrie Ewes, or whatever you say his name. Our guy from Robin Hood, Men in Tights. That's right. I'm taking you guys all the way back, okay? So Men in Tights is in there. He's a corrupt mayor, of course. And, you know, the mayor is well aware of this guy. He's well aware of the guy. He's well aware of the plans. He knows what's going on. So he and Hopper have a very interesting relationship. He beats him up a lot. And that's fine. So once they get to a place where they're like, okay, the Russians are doing this, they're buying up all these properties, everything's going up here in Starlight, okay, cool. They manage to go to one of the properties to see if they can find somebody. They do. And they end up fighting this big this big Russian again, but they get away this time, and they get away with one of the scientists from Russia. So, you know, he's basically pissed off at this point because he got beat up, and now they ran away with his scientist. The Russian guy goes on the hunt to find them. Okay, so now you've got this little issue. So they decide that they're going to go to Illinois, which is where this reporter lives, who also made a debut in both seasons 1 and 2. But he's kind of like a conspiracy theorist type of dude, and he's really out of his mind, but he knows exactly what he's talking about. And so they go to him for help. He also can translate Russian. Okay, so that's another reason why they went to him, and he kind of helps them get the information from Alexei, who is the Russian. So the Russian scientist. So now you have a second crew of people. Now you've got the bald guy. Let's call him Bald Eagle because that's what Dusty calls him. So you've got Bald Eagle. You've got the Russian scientist. Let's be clear. And then you have Hopper and Joyce. So they are now on some, okay, now we know what the fuck's going on. Okay, now we need to find these kids. Now Hopper is like, why do we need to find the kids? We don't need to find the kids and save them from da-da-da-da-da. But Joyce is very clear on the fact that her son was infiltrated by this force that is still here. And these people are opening the gate to bring the force in. That also directly affects my son and all the rest of his friends, all the kids. Okay? So they're rushing back to Hawkins to basically see, you know, what they can do to stop everything. They find out how to dismantle or disarm the actual, the machine that's opening the gate. So really the issue is trying to get in there. Now, one of the people was like, it's impossible to break in there. You just can't break in there. Well, guess who broke in there? Motherfucking Erica. Along with Dustin, Steve, and new girl Sarah. Okay, so yes, now we're here with Erica. Erica delivers the best line. One of my good buddies, Rachel, just said that on my Instagram post. Best lines of Stranger Things history. You cannot spell America without Erica. They were trying to convince the young lady to come and help them break into this little facility where all the deliveries go. All the deliveries have been coming in daily, and they want to see what's in there. Okay, but she's the only one who's small enough to get into the air vent. You see, so and it was so funny to me because Dustin said, "I can do it. I can do it." I remember I don't have any collarbones, and I was thinking, what the fuck does he mean? He doesn't have any collarbones. So Steve goes, "Well, he's got this disease where his bones are flexible." And I said, "Okay, cool, but." I mean, if you looked at Dustin and you looked at that dog, like, sir, you weren't a monster that could slink down into liquid, okay? You're still a growing boy, Okay, you can't fit in there, but whatever. So they went and got little Erica, who is again Lucas's little sister, and Erica was fantastic. At the end of the day, Erica gets screwed though, because she made her deal with these people that she would help them and she would get free ice cream for life. For life. Okay? And literally after this evening that she helped them, or a couple of evenings later, they completely shut them all down. So, I mean, she's screwed. Okay? She's screwed. But she's definitely the highlight of the entire season for me. I loved her sassiness. I loved how she wasn't taking no shorts or no losses. Okay, she didn't have time for y'all bullshit. She didn't have time for all that extra talking. I love the part where she was in the movie theater and Dustin comes back and he's like, do you have batteries? And she's like, why would I have batteries? And he was like, I always have batteries. And she was like, so what's the problem? And I was like, see, this is my badge. So I love Erica. She's the best. Okay, little slick mouth little girl. She reminds me of Kyla Pratt when she was a little girl and she was on those WNBA commercials talking slick all the time, just make you want to slam her. Okay, I just love that. I'm not one for a slick talking child, but if it's a fake slick talking child, that's cool. But if like the real deal is in my face, I'm a body slamming. But okay, so Erica enters into the thick of it in around episode 4, or I think it is 4. And so now she's in it. She's not just a bystander. She's not just a sister. She's not just the girl who comes for the ice cream. No, she's fucking in it. So I love that they made her a part of the entire thing. So that's the second crew, right? Or the third crew. Well, that's the first crew. I told you guys about the mall crew. Then you've got Hopper and the Russian and Bald Eagle. Then you've got over here with the rest of the friends. You've got Mike, 11, Lucas, and Mad Max, and Will. Okay? You don't even have Nancy and Jonathan, because Nancy and Jonathan are both over here working at the Hawkins newspaper. And it's the 80s, and Nancy's the only woman trying to be a reporter, so they are being extremely disrespectful and rude to Miss Nance, which I'm not mad at because she's a douche. And it's like, okay, I learned something when I was working for a fella who was extremely no nonsense. Shut up, say only what's needed, and go. Okay? Shut up, say what's needed, and go. But this is not the way most women articulate themselves. There's a lot of and just and kind of and sort of. There's no definitive, most of the time. And this is what she dealt with, and this is what I had to deal with watching this crap. And I just wanted to drop kick Nancy every time she was on the screen, so I didn't enjoy her at all in this season. And I don't know who did her hair, why they teased it like that. It's the worst. Just put it in a ponytail. Put it in a ponytail, okay? Anyway, that really bothered me. Billy. Let's go ahead and talk Billy. So Billy, at the end of episode 1, okay, Billy's driving. Billy has propositioned Mike's and Nancy's mother, okay, at the pool. He's a lifeguard this summer, okay? He's propositioned her, hey, how about we go over here to the Motel 6 pool? It's nice and secluded, and how about later on, today around 8 o'clock, right? So he's thinking he's going over here to get some married pussy, and something hits his windshield, he gets out, and then he gets sucked in, and then that's the end of Billy. That's really the end of Billy. Billy then is resurfaced, but he is now flayed. He has the monster inside of him, okay? And it sucks. Billy's not anyone's favorite character, but I didn't want him to go out like that. Damn. So yeah, Billy comes back to work the next day. He's definitely not himself. Everybody's like, well, what's going on? But they're not really tripping about it. It's just whatever, right? So, Billy's job is to build the army. So what Billy has been doing is, Billy has been recruiting. He's been getting people. So his coworkers, friends, whomever. He's been getting them, taking them, and presenting them to the monster. The monster then sucks their life out of their body. Okay, puts himself in there, and then he sends them on their way. there's a really horrible scene where they're building this army for the monster to be its biggest and most powerful. And it's really unfortunate because all of the people who were infected by the monster itself, like their bodies literally collapse into nothing, okay, and into like this goop of just goop, all right, just guts and blood and whatever it is. They just collapse in, and then it all merged into the monster, and then the monster was this big ass shit. Listen, it was terrible. It was terrible. I hated that scene. I hated it. There was 3 major scenes where I was like, okay, yeah, y'all really running out with me right now. Okay. That was one of the scenes. The other scene was when Elle gets bitten by this big monster that has been created now. Okay. Gets bitten by it, and then they leave something in her, and then they're trying to get it out. They cut her. They're trying to get, Jonathan's got his hand all in her leg, and it's just like, get out of her leg. Okay. Please. Okay, and then there's the part at the very beginning which actually starts all of this. The rats. The monster gets a hold of rats and puts himself in these rats, and then allows the rats to consume as much stuff. And then the rats started, like, when it came back to where the monster was, then the rats was then liquefied and then joined into the monster itself. So those 3 scenes were horrible for me. I thought it was disgusting. So there's that. So I'm trying to think of where I am with that. So once Billy gets all of the people, he starts building the army. The army is built. Then they go on the attack. And they attack on the 4th of July. That evening, during fireworks, is when the 4th of July attack happens. They're in the Hopper's cabin, which is not very far from where the 4th of July festivities are. But they're there, and they have a fight of their life. And this is where Elle gets bitten. She gets bitten here because she's fighting them, and they're like coming in from all these different directions, and she's getting them, and then she got them, and they were done, and then they came back, and another time, like another arm came and then got her on the leg, and then they're all trying to keep her from getting eaten, and it was just an intense situation. And then they make their way over to a grocery store so they can get some stuff to fix her leg up, and whatever. And then they run into these fireworks there. And which was very smart of Lucas. Shout out to Lucas for that, because I'm not sure what else they would have been able to use on the monster when the time came for them to have to actually, try to physically take the monster out. So the fireworks worked. They worked well. It was a good distraction as they were trying to, fight and do all of these things. They had to try to attack it a bit. It just got crazy from there. So while all of that's happening, of course, then you've got the other 4 at the top of the hill where the big antenna is, because they're basically the communications between Hopper and Will's mom, Joyce, Hopper and Joyce, because they're trying to go and close the gate. They're posed as Russian soldiers. Them along with Bald Eagle. At this point, Alexei does not make it to episode 8 because Alexei is killed by the big Russian, that beat Jim Hopper's ass. Killed by him at the 4th of July ceremony or fair or whatever, because he forgot. And I remember when they were there, I was like, what on earth is he doing at the fair, winning games and getting big stuffed animals and having a good time? Sir, you're on the run at this point. And at this point, if they find you, they're gonna kill you because they think you've snitched on them, sir. Come on, comrade, right? So as soon as I thought this, he won his game and everything. Cool. The guy comes rolling up, shoots him in the chest. Okay. shoots him in the chest in front of everybody. Nobody sees it because he's got a silencer on, plus he shot him through his Woody Woodpecker stuffed animal that he won, which was kind of dope. I loved Woody Woodpecker. And that was unfortunate. I was like, damn, Alexi. But, you know, hey, man, that's how it goes. And so he dies. So those three are the ones that are trying to go and close the gate at this point. Then you've got the kids down here struggling. And then you've got the other kids up here at the, so that they can communicate with people. They even had to communicate. There was a section in season 3, I didn't understand this at all. Like, I love the never-ending story, don't get me wrong, but I didn't understand what was happening here. Because the girlfriend wanted Dusty to sing the never-ending story before she would give them a vital piece of information that they needed, like the code to get into the actual room where the gate is. And I think I missed why she knows this number. It's some kind of number, like, so think along the lines of pi, like 3.14, you know? So it's apparently it's a really important number, and she knew it, and they had to call her for it, and she came through in the clutch. And there was this whole singing montage of the two of them singing the never-ending story, and I was like, what is this? You know, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little confused and disappointed in Stranger Things in this. I was like, what is happening? Even though, I get it, never-ending story was big, it was huge in the 80s, I loved it still, I could probably still watch it and be bugged out. But yeah, that was one part that I was like, I don't know about this. But it was okay. It was no big deal. Everybody had the same exact feeling in the show, though. Everybody was like, is this real life? What's happening right now? And so, once he sang the song and it went hard, then she was like, here's the number. And I was like, really, bitch? And so, so they got in there, closed it, and all this stuff. So, long story short, let's just roll into it. Takeaways, okay? They claim that Hopper died, okay? They claim Hopper died because he was fighting the Big Russian. He ended up throwing the Big Russian into the machine, killing him, of course. And then Joyce had to then close the, she had to then close the gate herself. And when you do that, everybody gets incinerated who's in the area. I'm confused about why she didn't just open the door and let him back in where she was, so they could have closed the gate and then they could have ran. But, I mean, maybe I'm just thinking a little too, clear. But I know he's not dead. And the reason I know he's not dead is because, first, I don't believe that anybody's dead. Because Shonda Rhimes did this to me with Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder, okay? She's done this to me too many times. I don't think she's dead. I don't think he's dead at all. Also, at the very end, there was actually a post-show or post-scene, post-credit scene or something, whatever, however you call it. And they showed a facility in Russia again. And they had like a jail, like a holding cells or whatever. They were walking down and they were like, no, not the American. Get him. So they took some guy, some Russian, I guess, and they put him in a cage, and then they opened a part of that cage, and then a Demogorgon comes out, and he's ready to eat. And the Demogorgon has different features, okay? In season 1, the Demogorgon was upright a bit, but not like this. Like, this was a full realized man body with no face, So I was like, oh, so we done went up. So what you're saying is we've evolved, okay? And we're feeding them humans now. Great. Fan-fucking-tastic. So that's how I kind of know Hopper's not dead. I refuse to believe that. So you have to wait another year to tell me I'm right, because I know I'm right on this, okay? And if Hopper is dead, then you might as well go ahead and just wrap up this show, okay? Anyway, another takeaway, Billy wasn't a total douche. So Billy's, like I told you, Billy got infected by the thing, okay? And he definitely was the last one to die. The monster actually killed Billy because 11 was able to go walking in his mind to kind of try to figure some stuff out and to see where he had been. And his mind was a fucked up place. It reminded me of The Cell, if you guys remember that movie, The Cell, with Jennifer Lopez and Vincent D'Onofrio. Vince Vaughn was also in the movie. It was a fantastic movie, very, very heady movie. Basically going into other people's minds so that you can figure stuff out. Da, da, da. So that movie's dope. If you guys haven't seen that, check it out. But it reminded me of that, and she was able to see that, you know, he had a close relationship with his mom. His dad was abusive to the mom. Mom basically left them hanging and was like, all right, I'm out, you know, and that's when he kind of developed his anger and all of his issues, and yeah, it's not so bad, you know, once you figure it out. But I mean, I tell everybody that, like, everybody's got a story, everybody's got an issue, and there's a reason why people are the way they are. It's just whether or not we take the time to figure it out or not, right? So he's not a total douche, but I mean, he was a douche, so let's not get it twisted. So, you know, it's unfortunate for Billy. I think the first time we saw it, though, was in season 2 when he was, you know, in his room and he was talking to his mom, or his dad and his stepmom, and, I mean, he was being a little mouthy, you know? He was being a little mouthy. Oh, you know, you guys were late, da 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 da. But Dad got really ridiculous, like, super ridiculous with him, like, jacking him up, hitting him in the side, like, crazy. So, yeah, it's just out of control. So that's when we first saw it, and then, of course, we see it again in season 3, and then now Billy has passed away. And I really hoped that everybody that was infected would be able to be uninfected, but when I saw them lining up and then dying, you know, like, you know, morphing into, you know, liquid and stuff and then merging into, I said, oh no, they dead. They dead. Okay. Let's see. I already said Erica got screwed. That's another takeaway of mine. Mike and Nancy's mom is the best. So I say this because I told you guys how Billy thought he was going to go and fuck Mike's mom. Okay, who's married, of course, 3 kids, all of these things, okay? She's very attracted to him, but she went and got dressed and ready to go out here to the Motel 6 to get screwed in the pool, which is probably the grossest thing I've ever heard. And then, but not back then, of course. No. But nowadays, I wouldn't dare do that, and with all the disease these people have. But whatever. But nah, I take that back. I probably would if he was sexy enough. Anyway, but when she came downstairs, she took a look over to the living room and she saw her husband laying there asleep with their youngest child, you know, and so she realized at that point, you know what, I got the game all the way fucked up. I was about to risk it all for what? For Billy, you know? So, you know, that was the truth, but that's not why I feel like their mom is the shit. That plus the fact that there was a very real conversation, and only women are going to get this, but there was a very real conversation between Nancy and her mom after Nancy gets fired from the newspaper, okay? And Nancy's mom says a lot of shit that's hitting right now in 2019 too. You know, it's just hard. You're always told you can't, you won't, you know, you can't do it, this, that, and the other. And she was like, you know, a lot of people give up on their dreams, and, you know, she was like, but you're not like that. And I just thought that was the dopest moment. I was like, yes. I said, yeah, mama. I said, yeah. You know what I mean? And then, when I was watching season 1, I was watching season 1 when they find out that, when they find the body in the quarry and they think it's Will, and Mike just comes home and then he just falls into his mom's arms because it's just it's mom, so it's comfort, you know, and it's just like, oh, mom's the fucking best. Nancy did the same thing in the season 3 as well, because when she got fired, her mom came up to check on her. She didn't open the door, but then when she was on her way down, then she did, and, you know, all of that. So, and I think about these things, like, it's interesting to me that people would be like that with their parents. Like, I did not have the ability to just not talk to my parents. I was like, what in the hell? Man, they did something different, you know? So that's why she was the shit. Another takeaway is the Mind Flayer just won't give the fuck up, okay? You just won't give the fuck up. Damn. I mean, you already tried, Will. It didn't work. Okay? Now you got this little whatever, this army, you know, led by Billy. That's not gonna work, you know? So goddamn, they just won't give up. Just won't give up. Anyway, 11's powers. Okay. 11's powers. So after 11 is bitten by the monster, okay, she has to then take that stuff out of her leg. I remember I told you guys that Jonathan cut the leg open and had his entire hand in her like shin area, and it was like, man, what is going on here? You know. So she basically had to use her powers to get the thing out of her leg, which she did. But after that, she couldn't use them powers again. So my takeaway is that 11's powers will be back. They are not gone for sure. And even if they are, then that means you definitely have to introduce another test subject. You have got to give us 10. Give us 8. Bring 8 in the mix. 9, 1, 2, 3. Hey, anybody, okay? So yeah. And my last takeaway was that the 80s rule. And that's from every single part. Okay, that's every single part. I'm talking the colors, the hair, the style, alright, the cars, okay, the activities, the toys, all of it. The 80s was the best. I think when I was growing up, I always said the 80s was the worst because I was living in the 90s and then it was the 2000s and it was too soon for that. But the 80s was the best. It was the fucking best. It's like one of my favorite times. Any type of movie, TV show, anything like that set in the 80s, like it's gonna be real hard for me to like it because I have a standard. Stranger Things is a standard. This Is Us, when those kids, and I don't think they grow up in the 80s like that. I think they grow up in the 90s, actually. But sometimes it was the 80s. So even them, you know, that's the standard of, you know, the things. You know, all of these, you know, the Goldbergs, you know, all of these shows that kind of major throwbacks to the times. Those are the standards. So if you can't get on Stranger Things level, then you better get out of here. Get out of here. Okay? And I really loved it. And I'm trying to look at this list that I wrote out that I didn't even really touch. And I'll just go through, because I wrote down specific things about different people. Oh yeah, that's right. Here's common sense shit that is missed by every single person in the entire show. Probably with the exception of Erica, but she was not put in position to run, okay? But danger is all around, and this is what they do. They sit there and they watch it. And then when the danger is extremely imminent, then it's, oh no, let me run, let me fall. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, there's a scene where the whole crew, the kids, go to the hospital to see Mrs. Driscoll. Okay, Mrs. Driscoll has caught one of these rats. She caught one of the rats and everything. She was a normal person, and then the rat exploded, morphed into liquid, got into her. Now she's no longer nobody, right? So they go to the hospital to see Miss Driscoll because they basically want to take her back to where the monster is, because she kept saying, I gotta go back, but they didn't know where the monster was, right? So they were like, oh, well, let's go get her. She'll take us back, and then we'll be good to go, right? They get up there. Miss Driscoll's gone, okay? She's gone, and the boss from the newspaper, the sexist ones, there's two of them in particular, like the editor and maybe the lead reporter or something, they're turned into the flayed at this point, and then they attack them heavily, right? Attack the hell out of them, okay? Then, somehow, some way, they both are able to kill their respective dudes that they're fighting. What happens is, their body then turns to mush and oozes together, and then it merges together and it makes a little monster. Now, it took some time for the oozing to occur. It took time for the oozing to merged together to develop into the monster, all of that. This whole time, all they was doing was watching it. They was watching the whole time. If you ask me in a hotel or a hospital, because they were in a hospital, there's so many exits, get the fuck out of there. But no, they decide to sit there and watch it. I said, what are we looking at here? What are we watching? What y'all watching? And now that monster is put together, and now y'all scared and running. What? Yeah, I forget. So, that happened. You know. 11 has to come save the day again. 11's got to come and save Nancy, because Nancy's always in dire need. She's always about to get attacked. Always got her back up against the wall. Jesus. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. I love that they have 11 as a strong woman. I love Max isn't super weak, and I love that Erica was shit. But I don't understand why Nancy's got to be this quintessential lame-ass, weak-ass woman. Like, come on, Nance. I mean, she can use a gun, so that is good. But fuck that shit. I can use a gun. I mean, shit. Anywho, so that's my main issue. That's my main issue is the common sense shit. They just ain't got none. 11. Quick rundown. 11. She's still the shit. She was very low key this season, and nothing new was given to us in regards to her powers. We knew the powers that she used. We knew that she could do them. She did it a lot more. But my problem is that, and I don't know the extent of her powers, right? None of us really do. But like I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, I want her to be able to use her powers without her nose fucking bleeding. That's number one. And then number two, like, I want her to develop some new powers. You know what I'm saying? Like, this got to be the beginning. I mean, she's a child, you know? So, I don't know. So, let's see. Mike and Nancy. I told you guys they both suck and they're both lame. I called Mike an asshole earlier. Nancy is the lamest. Their dad is dumb. Their mom is the best part of that whole family, and baby girl is okay too. She ain't got much of a whatever. She's nobody. Alright, so they're on my nerves. Big time. Joyce and Hopper, I kind of wish they would have gotten together. I'm not sure. Actually, I do know why. You know, Joyce is still thinking about the ex-boyfriend that died in season 2. Bob, and I feel bad about that too. They reference him a couple of times in season 3, which is nice. She has a couple of flashbacks with him as well, so that's also nice. But she's clearly still mourning Bob, and Hopper is just in love and wants to move ahead, and it's just not going to work that way. Let me see. Oh, Hopper. I wrote down here, Hopper had the realest moment in life in the car screaming at Joyce to drive, because there was a part where I told you guys when they went to the property and they went underneath the house and they found the Russian scientist, and the other big Russian was, there. They had to fight him. They trapped the Russian down there. They put the bed down, okay? He had one of those, folding beds, so, you lift the bed up and then there's more space. But in this situation, you lift the bed up and there was a staircase down underneath the house. And so they put the bed down, everything. They're running out the house. They're getting in the car, all of that. And Joyce is fumbling around with them keys. And listen, I can't stand a fumbler. What is you fumbling around with them keys for? You know what we got to do? We got to go. Okay? And he was just like, Joyce, drive. Joyce, drive. He was like, for the love of God, Joyce, please drive. And listen, I felt that in my spirit. I really did. I was with him 110%. Sir, I'm with you. Okay? Put your motherfucking foot on this gas, bitch. Let's go. Okay, let's go. So I enjoyed the shit out of that. Dustin and Steve. I told you guys about that. I told you guys all about that. With Dustin and Steve and Erica and the new girl and the mall and the Russians, and oh man, they're probably one of my favorite storylines actually. And also their crew was so diverse. I really appreciated it. Fight scenes. Yeah, I told y'all about the spice. Some of them. So the two biggest spice scenes is the Russian versus Hopper. Okay, this happened multiple times. The first fight was when he got mollywopped. The second fight was when he got mollywopped again. And it just was a continuous struggle for Hopper. Okay, and this Russian. Nancy and Jonathan versus the flayed bosses. I told you guys about that, where their bodies, they killed them, and then their bodies melted down, and then they merged into a monster. Yeah, that was a crazy fight scene too. I ain't gonna lie to you, I was stressed. The big fight at the last episode, which I think the episode is actually called Showdown at the Star Court. Okay, and that's very straightforward, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, that thing was huge. It was ridiculous. Let me see. I wrote down Billy versus everybody. He really was a son of a bitch in this season. And then also I wrote down a little note. They just don't care who they fight. And I say that because there's so many fights that occur, and the men just did not care about the fact that they were fighting the women. I mean, one girl, I can't remember who this was, but she got thrown. She got picked up and thrown into like a glass counter, okay? And I was like, God darn it, you know? So I was like, shit, what the fuck? Jesus. All right. Let's see. I got notes on Will. Will, still my guy, okay? I really enjoy Will tremendously. He's like the most normal of all of them. He's a little timid, but at the same time, he's a normal kid, and I just really like Will. And I just feel bad for him because he's got such a hard life. And he's got crazy parents, and his friends are disastrous as well. But shout out to him. Let's see what else I have written down. Anything worth talking about? Russian, Jonathan. Okay. Nah, that's pretty much it. I did write down that the shit kept getting smarter. The monster, that is. It kept getting smarter. So overall, if I could give an entire series one grade, I would probably give the entire series an A- right now. Season 1, I would give a solid A. Season 2 gets an A+ for me, and then season 3 definitely gets an A+. It definitely gets an A+. So, fantastic work, Stranger Things. I just can't thank you guys enough. The only thing I can pray is that while you were writing season 3, you guys were also writing season 4 and 5 or whatever, instead of taking an entire fucking year to write the script and then another 6 to 8 months to film it and then another 4 months to edit it down. Okay? Like, come on. That ain't hitting. You hear me? But in any case, so those of you who have not quite seen all of the episodes, I hope that you did not listen to this. If you got to this point, I would imagine that you listened to this. So those of you who have questions, just holla at me. I don't mind answering questions that I might have an answer to, because it can be confusing. And I hope that you guys enjoyed Stranger Things. It's fantastic. Okay, and those of you who are well aware of these characters and everything that's happened, hey, let me know how y'all like this. Let me know what y'all thought of season 3. And everybody, just let me know what you think of Stranger Things, period. Hit me on Mill Speaks and Instagram. Alright? You can hit me on Twitter, okay, at Mills Virgo. You can hit me on Facebook underneath J Mills Productions. All of that. So yeah, let me know what you think. I pray that you guys enjoyed the shit out of this just like I did. It made my entire July 4th because I didn't celebrate it like that. I just kind of relaxed and chilled. So I just I'm elated. And now I'm just waiting on another show that I really enjoy to come back. Like Lost in Space or something like that. And I need something that's going to have over 10 episodes. I just want Netflix to tighten up. Okay? Tighten up. Jesus. But anywho, I'm out, y'all. I'm out. Bring the beat up.